Tom, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance.
All right, we have approval for today's meeting agenda.
Like make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Announcements. We have 3 vacancies on the Parks Board, 2 vacancies on the Radio Board, 1 vacancy on the Library Board of Trustees, 1 vacancy on the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, and 1 vacancy on the Airport Advisory Committee. Appointments, I would like to appoint Robert Doring and Laura Odnan to the Parks Board with council consensus. All right, thank you. All right, we have no other reports, so we'll move right into public comment. Public communication to council is intended for communication to the city council regarding general council business or policy not on tonight's agenda. Address the comments and questions to the city council body, not to an individual member or city staff. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We request the comments be nice and respectful. This is not a question and answer time, and the council cannot engage in conversation with the public. No person may use the public comment for the purpose of campaign or advertisement. City council will begin the time once the citizen has started their public comment. At 2 minutes, you will see a green light, followed by a yellow light indicating 30 seconds remain in the public comment period. The red light will notify the reader that the public comment time has ended. The order of public comments are first with individuals attending in person. Second will be individuals attending remotely. The general public comments, whether in person or remotely, will continue in the usual position on the agenda. Agenda items that will be removed will be addressed following the conclusion of all general public comments. So who do we have up first, Scott?
All right, I believe we have 4 comments in total for the evening. Do we have any online for general public? Okay. So David Doan, upcoming events at the parade. I believe it says for the individuals, but I'm not sure.
Hang on, David. We want to turn that mic on.
If I wanted to.
No, you don't have to.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm a local writer and author and actor. I've been in a lot of plays here, so you may have seen me in some of those. I was the lifeguard, the head lifeguard here at Community Club for 5 years. You may have seen me there. So, okay, we're going to have a event here on the 14th at 3 o'clock. An Indivisible event, but it's going to be an event with 200 other organizations besides Indivisible, and it's going to be publicized across the country. There's going to be 1,800 cities involved, and we expect 5 to 6 million people come. So they're all going to be in the same place we were the last time we had an event, which we had 504 people show up. I know how many people were there because I counted them myself with a clicker. So there were 504. I've been invisible for a long time. Some people think the wrong things about us. We're not nasty people. We're the nicest people you can imagine. All of us are. We are here because we love our country and we're proud of our country. We're not proud of some of the things that are happening in it. And we see some very awful, horrible things happening. And those of you who don't see them, I wonder why you don't see them. So we have an event, it's called the No Kings Act event. Because some people think that America should have a king, and we have a man who thinks he should be king, and we don't quite agree with that. Donald Trump's regime is trying to crack down on our media, our business, and our higher education, and our civil society. We see it every day, and we know it's true. And if you don't see it's true, you must be a Fox News only visitor viewer because they're the only ones that are not watching it. Everyone else is watching it. Currently in Los Angeles, there's about 250 people protesting. That's it. But he's called all the National Guard out there for 250 people. That's all that's actually there. So there's no need for the National Guard. Now he's going to bring the military in. The Marines, there's still 250 people there. It's not getting any worse. There's no fires. There's no deaths. There's nothing else going on there at all, except a few people, which the mayor and the governor have asked him not to bring those people, not to bring the military, not to bring the National Guard in. But he's done it anyway. So he's infuriating the situation and trying to claim the city is in some kind of jeopardy, which it is not. Okay, well, that happens to be true. We're going to have tanks down the streets of Washington. That's going to cost $16 million to do that, to bring these tanks onto the streets of Washington, because it's going to do that kind of damage. Here is Trump's statement himself, which I've just taken, of what he's going to do to anybody who protests about all this. Any protesters at the parade will be met with a very, very big force. Potential protesters have been characterized as people who hate our country. Right. Sure we do. My father went to the Second World War to fight against.
That's time.
Okay. Thanks.
Susan Canary, OS Municipal Code.
Thank you, Susan Canary, taxpayer. I want to express deep concern and seek clarification regarding the city's past enforcement actions against residents who placed shipping containers on private property. At the May 27, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, the city planner stated that there is currently nothing in the Ocean Shores Municipal Code that prohibits shipping containers in residential zones. And he said, quote, "With more of these containers being placed on residential property, regulations need to be enacted," end quote. This admission raises important legal and ethical questions about the city's previous actions. I personally know of a few residential property owners who were issued criminal citations or received warnings for having shipping containers on their property, presumably under the assumption that such structures were prohibited, despite no explicit language in the municipal code to that effect. One resident was forced to hire legal representation to defend themselves. After much delay, multiple continuances, and discussions with the prosecuting attorney, the city finally dismissed the case without prejudice. Given this history, I respectfully ask the following. 1. On what legal basis were residents criminally cited if no code prohibition existed at the time? 2. What steps, if any, has the city taken or will take to provide restitution to residents who incurred legal costs due to these improper charges? 3. Does the city plan to apply the new prohibition, if adopted, retroactively in any way? 4. Will the city formally acknowledge that past enforcement actions were in error, and will it publicly clarify that no prohibition existed at the time these citations were issued? This issue strikes at the core of public trust in government. Enforcement actions must be based on clear, codified law, not assumptions or implied interpretations. The residents of Ocean Shores deserve transparent governance and assurance that legal protections, such as due process, are upheld. Our democracy depends on it. I urge city leadership to address this matter publicly and ensure that going forward, all enforcement actions are grounded in clearly stated municipal law. Thank you.
Maria Van Horn, First Amendment violation by the city.
Maria Van Horn, member of Indivisible Ocean Shores. I spoke here in April regarding free speech rights. Upon finishing, I was called a liar, a bully, told to shut up and sit down. I was told I looked like I was 90 years old. For a minute, I thought I was back in junior high with the mean girls. Ironically, these insults were said by the same people who had earlier said we all need to move on and get along, including a person currently running for a council seat that wants to bring us together. For the record, we don't live in Mayberry. It's a fictional town. We live in a real community with real people, diverse ideas, real concerns, and the police officers that carry guns. The sheriff of Mayberry did not carry a gun. The real people that belong to Indivisible Ocean Shores, as David so eloquently said, are active citizens that cherish living here. We have members that donate their time and resources to community events, to community activities at the library, volunteer at North Beach Paws, support veterans' rights, do beach cleanups, donate to the food bank, support local vendors, and support everyone's right for free speech. The real issue has always been the violation of our First Amendment rights by the mayor at last year's Sand and Sawdust Festival, requiring the phrase democracy depends on it to be covered up, which was clearly censorship. I believe the city attorney would agree. The true irony that day was that the signs, flags, and banners being sold by vendors on city property contained multiple obscene words, yet they were not restricted, even in the presence of young children. Whatever the mayor's beliefs are that he expressed in a recent news article, his actions speak louder than words. As George Orwell wrote in his novel 1984, elimination of the words that represent wrong concepts restricts freedom and independent thought. If democracy becomes a bad word, what's next? Some people don't like the word rainbow because it represents joy. So we are required now to sing Somewhere Over the Multicolored Prism. The lack of leadership at the city level is astounding. It was pronounced in April that we are all humans and we make mistakes. I agree completely. But an effective leader takes responsibility for their mistakes, makes them right, does not allow it to linger on, causing division. It's been over a year and still no action regarding censorship by the mayor. Only excuses and red herrings are given. We all heard the history lesson about democracy at the April 8th meeting. Again, not relevant to the violation of the First Amendment. George Washington said, truth will ultimately prevail where there is pains to bring it to light. Indivisible Ocean Shores believes in the truth and will continue to make the effort to bring it to light. We are not going away. Thank you.
And lastly, Bruce Rittenhouse, July 4th, Blue Bag Brigade.
Hi. We all know what July 4th in Ocean Shores means. A lot of people, a lot of fireworks, and a lot of trash on our beaches. Our residents either get out of town, hunker down, or head to the beach to watch the fireworks. Well, the City of Ocean Shores and Grays Harbor Surf Rider need your help. Grays Harbor Surf Rider is an organization dedicated to protecting and enjoying the world's oceans, waves, and beaches for all people to enjoy. Is currently recruiting volunteers to help hand out blue garbage bags to beachgoers on July 4th to help keep our beaches clean. We are asking volunteers to serve 2-hour shifts beginning at 10 a.m. at either the Chance a la Mer or Damon Road beach approaches. Since these are the busiest two approaches, we will need at least 6 volunteers, 3 at each site, for totaling about 24 volunteers. Surfrider will provide water and snacks, but bring your own drink cup because we're not going to have plastic bottles to add more pollution, and snacks at both locations. You can register to volunteer at the Grays Harbor Surfrider website, Grays Harbor, that's one word, surfrider.org/monthly-events. You can select the time when you want to volunteer, and after you register, Surfrider Volunteer Coordinator Kim Johnson will get in touch with you to which access road that you want to volunteer at. Surfrider will host a pre-volunteer orientation meeting on Thursday, July 3rd at the Ocean Shores Library at 5:30 about volunteer safety and logistics. On July 5th, which Surfrider refers to as the dirtiest beach day of the year, Surfrider will be doing a beach cleanup and helping the city follow up, and clean up the mess from the night before. We'll be at the Chance Oliver location from 8 to noon, and I understand that there's a Jeep group going to be out at Tourist collecting garbage as well. You can register for this or just show up. We need everybody, all hands on deck for that day. Even if it's just to fill up one bucket, it is always helpful. To show Surfriders appreciation for helping out, hand out bags to all registered volunteers will receive a t-shirt at the July 3rd orientation meeting. And after the July 5th beach cleanup, Grays Harbor Surfrider will have a volunteer appreciation celebration that afternoon. We'll provide all volunteers who come out to hand out bags and clean up the beach pizza and a beverage. And we'll have more details on that at the orientation meeting. Please come and help us keep our beaches clean so we can enjoy them after July 4th. And the website again to register is Grays Harbor, that's one word, .surfrider.org/monthly-events. You can also send an email message to chair@graysharbor.surfrider.org for further information. But it'll all be on the website. And thank you, and I hope to see you on the 4th and the 5th. And that includes city council members. Thank you.
That concludes public comment for this evening.
All right, next we got City Administrator report by City Administrator Scott Anders.
All right, fairly brief tonight, but I did want to give people an update because it's just been an ongoing issue. But we have finally got it resolved as of today. So the Ocean Shores Golf Course and the Water Department have been trying to get these irrigation pumps on the front 9 of the golf course to prime for several weeks. The system parts were old because they were purchased by people outside the city. No documentation could be located for the pump or for the motor. And they were not able to get the suction pump to hold any water. And instead, it simply pumped water into the intake line to recirculate out to the canal. But it was determined that ultimately we needed a new foot valve that had to be attached to the end of the 6-inch line. And so we were able to order that. We had it FedExed and we received it today. And it's a SureFlow 6-inch foot valve that is compatible with our golf system and our irrigation system. So as of today, that is on, that is up and running, and the front 9 all have access to the irrigation system and for water, and will no longer need to be watered by hand. And we know we'd heard from several golfers that this was a priority, and that issue has been addressed. And that's really everything I have tonight.
All right, thanks. Council liaison reports and committee reports. And can we start with Denise?
I don't have much to report. We did have a finance committee working session. That was with Sarah, Richard, and Allison and I missed agenda review. Thank you, Allison, for filling in because I was selected for jury duty.
All right, Tom.
I happen to have missed one of my meetings because of work, and the next one's not up yet, so go from there.
All right, Lisa Griebel.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report.
All right, Lisa Scott.
I attended agenda review.
Allison Klein.
I attended the Finance Committee's work session, study session. I did agenda setting and signed warrants.
All right, thanks. Richard. Turn your mic on, please.
The Freshwater Advisory Board met on 2 June. They elected new officers. The president is Dave Royce, the vice president is Connie Clifford, the secretary is James Pace. I'm really impressed with the enthusiasm that this new board is bringing to the city. They've got a lot of really great plans. They talked about several ideas for actually getting hands-on in the waterways and getting things accomplished. They're going to create a Facebook page with the goal of letting the community know what the Freshwater Advisory Board is going to be doing. Yay, you go Freshwater Advisory Board. I think it's going to be great. I also attended the finance meeting that met on June 2. And in that finance meeting, we, the finance committee, took on the assignment of identifying potential accounts that have a zero balance that can be put into an inactive status. We've been working on that. There's 1,000 lines of spreadsheet that have to be individually checked against 5 different annual account summaries for the year account summaries. So it's a time-consuming process. We're almost done. I think there's about 100 rows left to do. That task should be finished and into Sarah by sometime tomorrow. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Richard. Rich?
We should have a new site and ordinance updated for council review for our next meeting. So during agenda setting this week, if you guys would have a placeholder for it, that is all.
All right, thanks. Mayor's report. So I hope all of you got a chance to go to the Saturday market. It was awesome. I'd like to thank Connie Clifford, Ryan Solomon, Kim Nichols, Debbie Bees, and Kristen Hartman for all their work. We had 17 vendors there. We had live music there. It was a great turnout, and a lot of shoppers showed up, and so the vendors were quite happy with that too. Moving on here, black slime. People might be wondering how we're doing on that. We have a process in place to reduce the phosphorus in our drinking water, which is believed to be tied to the black slime problem. We're actually waiting for approval from Department of Health, and when we get that, we can start moving forward and testing that out. We had an engineering firm that gave us the process, I guess would be the word, to reduce the phosphorus. Now, Department of Health has informed the city that the amount of phosphorus in our drinking water is not a health concern, so I don't want to have people worry about that. But it could be involved with the black slime that some people are getting on their faucets and such. So that's why we're working on that. Hopefully that'll get started pretty soon. South Fire Station, we officially take ownership of the modular tomorrow, and bids will be going out this week for the moving, assembly, and utility connections for the living quarters for our firemen. So that's going to be a big deal down there at the south end. It'll help people out with their insurance rates, and response time will be a lot quicker. So we'll be having a manned fire station down there fairly soon on that. One other thing, I'd like to congratulate Sawyer Reether and Katana Kopoman. Don't really know how to say her last name, but both of those track stars, I will call them, medaled in track at the state championship. So we're really proud of those two. Another thing that I don't know if everybody knows about, but North Beach High School has won their 4th consecutive league championship in track. That's really a huge deal. You got to thank Pete Fry. He's the head coach there for the program that he's put together. He does an awesome job with that, and he has some great assistant coaches too, and obviously a lot of good kids that put out a lot of effort for that to happen. So really happy to see that that's continuing, that program there. I was able to help assist coach there, and Pete Fry does a great job with the kids, and they get a large turnout for kids too. So success, I think, gets kids to turn out for different sports. So anyway, that's the end of my report, and can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, we have no old business. We have new business, and it's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, establishing Ocean Shores Municipal Code, Chapter 8.30, relating to short-term occupancy facility standards, provided for servability and establishing an effective date. And Richard Wills has worked on this quite a bit and helped to write this ordinance, and he's going to present it.
Thank you. So we're discussing the hotel standards draft ordinance, which starts on page 15 of 82 of the agenda packet. There have been two previous council discussions of the proposed draft leading up to this, which will be the actual first reading. I am going to suggest a few changes that I recommend, but it's not my ordinance. It's the city council's ordinance. So all of the things that I'm going to introduce all the things I'm going to discuss during this introduction will have to be discussed during the council discussion portion of. Anyway, to start off, the whereas statements have been discussed and reconsidered. The discussions conclude that as they are written, they clearly and succinctly describe the purpose and goals of the ordinance. So I see no reason to change those whereas introductory statements. And then after reviewing notes, discussions, and the applicable WACs, the WACs of the Washington State Department of Health Transit Accommodation Resource Book, it became pretty clear that the most effective approach to implementing a local ordinance was to adopt the Washington State Transit Accommodation Resource Books by reference. It already includes all of the WACs, the Washington Administrative Codes that deal with transit accommodations. Sections 8.30.070, .080.090, and .100 of this ordinance are in the ordinance to clarify specific sections of the underlying WACs or the underlying accommodation resource book that describe that pertains specifically to ocean shores. Could you put the photo up of the regional areas, please? So this is a map that shows the area that the current Department of Health inspector, Janet Van Dyke, the area in light blue, which goes all the way from what is that, no point in the far north, Clallam County, all the way down to Vancouver in Clark County, that is her inspection area. She drives 3,000 miles a month to inspect some approximately 550 hotels and try to get around to all of them at least every 2 years. And if you look at that map, if you can see it, I think my picture may almost be in the way. The little tiny dot, almost microscopic, that is the Ocean Shores Peninsula, that's what this ordinance covers. So I don't know how many square miles that blue area is, but it's a lot. And Ocean Shores Peninsula is 9 square miles. That's why we want to enact this ordinance. Could you put the next photo up there? So yeah, blow that up a little bit. The reason that this photo is in there is this photo was taken off of a slideshow that Jerry Card presented to the Hotel Coalition, and it shows a stained mattress. I'm pretty sure that's a wine stain, not a body fluid stain. And this stained mattress passes the Washington Code. I'm surprised that the mattress gets stained because I would assume that all hotels have a waterproof barrier between the sheets and the mattress. But the point that I make is that we want to adopt the Washington State Department, the Transit Accommodation Resource Handbook by reference, and that covers all of and sets the standards of everything that the original couple of drafts tried to clarify. It's much easier if we just adopt the entire handbook. So after personally reviewing the ordinance on the agenda and input from others, I have 5 potential changes that I would like to bring up now. And my hope is that by addressing these potential changes that will be discussed during council discussion, that it will circumvent perhaps some of the potential public comments. We're aware of some changes that need to be made, and they'll be addressed. So on page 2 of 6 of the ordinance, or page 17 of the agenda packet, in chapter 8.30.010, the list of WACs is redundant. Because we're adopting the entire handbook, we don't need to have that list of WACs on there. The second change is on page 4 of 6. Also on page 18, paragraph 8.30.070D is redundant. It is already thoroughly discussed in the paragraphs A through C of that section, and most of that text is in red on your agenda packet. On page 4 of 6 of the ordinance, I also suggest replacing the word will with may in the line, a fee established, blah, blah, blah. And it's just under the bold type at .8.30.090. And the reason I want to make that change or suggest that change is, as it says now, will, it would mean that we, the council, have to decide what punishments would be incurred. And I'd like to defer that to a later meeting. On page 18 of the agenda, also page 4 of 6, in paragraph 8.30.090D, and it states something to the effect of evidence of a culpable mental state. Well, that statement was a carryover from the original holdover from the Arlington, Texas ordinance. It should not have made it into this draft. And my apologies. I have reread this thing so many times. I just missed that before I sent it up to Sarah. And on page 5 of 6 of the ordinance, section 2, the severability chapter, that's basically repeated in paragraph 8.30.090H. So it's redundant, and I suggest that we need to remove one or the other of those two sections. And again, that'll be discussed during the council discussion. So if adopted, this ordinance will provide the legal basis for the city to inspect the hotels to ensure timely corrections regarding the health, welfare, and safety of all of the short-term overnight visitors to our city. We, the city legislators, want to provide specific wording focused on providing basic standards of cleanliness, safety, habitability, and consistent with the community expectations and industry best standards. So that's my introduction. Frank, it's back to you, please.
All right, thanks, Richard. Public comment. Yes, go ahead.
Susan Canary, taxpayer. Tonight, you're spotlighting what seems to be the most urgent crisis in Ocean Shores, hotel cleanliness. The ordinance claims there are increasing concerns about the declining condition of local lodging. It warns of health, safety, and welfare risks. But those concerns, they came from just one voice in the industry based on social media reviews. This proposed legislation paints our lodging sector as unsafe, unsanitary, and in significant disrepair. Is that the message we want to send? Because nothing says book your next vacation here like a city ordinance declaring our hotels a public hazard. Framing this as a citywide problem suggests visitors should stay away because they won't know which properties are affected, one or all. Even worse, the ordinance claims that rundown hotels, quote, undermine the city's reputation, discourage tourism, and hurt property values, end quote. That's not cleaning up our town, that's dragging it through the mud. Let's be clear, there is no evidence of a widespread crisis. The Washington State Department of Health already inspects hotels. They're trained, thorough, and have real enforcement authority. That's their job. If a hotel does fall short, hold it accountable, but do it through a complaint-based ordinance. Let guests and residents report real issues easily online, like I suggested. A simple form on the city's tourism website. My proposal was ignored. No questions, not even an acknowledgement. But this ordinance, wow, it gets fast-tracked, all to satisfy one narrow interest while potentially damaging every lodging business in town. This isn't just bad policy, it's bad optics. And in a tourism economy, perception is everything. If you pass a law that says our hotels are falling apart, don't be surprised when guests go somewhere else. somewhere that doesn't insult itself in its own legislation. This ordinance doesn't clean up hotels. It just trashes ocean shores. Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right, I guess not. Council? Oh, online, that's right, sorry.
Line we do. Don, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm having some trouble with my computer. As I read this document, the purpose of it is, as stated by Mr. Wills, that to set some standards for short-term rental facilities. But it's really focused at hotels. All we've heard about is hotels and motels. And in fact, the presentation made by Mr. Wills pretty much isolates just the hotels. But if you look at section 8.30.030, it's on page 3 of your agenda, page 17. It certainly includes hotels and motels, but it states very clearly that it also includes any other 30-day or less temporary accommodations. And so that means this ordinance is covering hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, all of Oyot Bay, and every single private residence that is geared to provide overnight rentals. This is much broader than just covering the hotels, because it covers private residents also. And is that the intent, to have inspectors going out to private homes and inspecting them? But now if you look at the other section where we include the WACs, the Washington Administrative Code, and I guess it's going to be only covered in the handbook. Well, the handbook that is referred to here is simply a restatement of the each WAC and giving some hints and ideas on how owners of these facilities should administer these WACs. And it says, if you look at WAC number 246-360 -001, it's very clear. It states the purpose of the regulations apply to facilities offering 3 or more lodging units or guests for a period of less than 30 days. So this now excludes private homes. So we have somewhere in the ordinance, including private homes. By incorporating the WACs, we exclude private homes. And I guess my question is, it's just not clear what's going on. The focus is supposed to be on hotels, but it includes everything, including private residences that operate as overnight rentals in the business zone. So anyhow, it's those are my questions. There's a lot of problems with this. Makes reference to articles. I don't know why this ordinance would make reference to an article. What article are we talking about? The ordinance itself mentions an ordinance, and that isn't how you write a municipal code. You're supposed to be writing a municipal code. The ordinance to be a camera-ready municipal code, and this certainly is not a camera-ready municipal code, and it needs a lot of structural changes. But I think my biggest problem here is the fact that we have a conflict between private homes.
All right, any other online? No? All right, council, any questions or discussion? Richard?
So I'd like to point out that this ordinance clearly states that we are adopting the WACs by reference, and the WACs are all contained in the handbook. And the handbook clearly stipulates what facilities are open to inspection. So in my mind, that was pretty clear, but maybe not clear enough. And I would invite the council to chime in whether we need to change this ordinance to address is the way that the WAC is currently written, is that clear enough for us? So I invite that discussion.
All right. Yeah, Lisa Scott.
So I just wanted, in reference to the private, I think Susan and Don both brought up private residence. I'm not positive on Susan, but I think if you have a house and you're renting it out, it does get included. People do vacation VBROs, and it may be longer. Maybe they rent them for a week. But if you're renting your house and you want to make sure, I've done vacation rentals as well. And I like to know that where I'm staying is safe. It's met all the security and safety precautions. That I know that there's operable smoke detectors, there's operable carbon monoxide, that I know that my family's going to be safe. And I think it definitely should include private residences, and it is perfectly legal. I think I'm sorry that one of the commenters feels that that's dragging Ocean Shores through the mud, but it's really not. The comments that we've been seeing all over Facebook, and it's not just one complainer. There's multiple people complaining about the quality of where some of the places they're staying, and you can't single people out. Sometimes you have to treat it as a whole. And I think that by taking the stand in correcting some of the problems, we're proving that we believe in our city, that we want to set higher standards so that people feel safe and want to come back and stay with us and be family friendly. Because right now we are losing some tourism because of some of what's happened in places they stayed in the past. So I think this is a good first step, and I for one am looking forward to it. Do I think that maybe some of the deletions you're proposing, like severability, I think that has to stay in there. I don't know for sure, but every ordinance I've ever seen that clause is in there. Whether it's legal, it has to stay. Some mention of it needs to be in there. But maybe keeping, as Mr. Williams suggested, it may be redundant, the WAC listing, but maybe it is for ease of reference since it's in the ordinance. It's easy for someone to go into the ordinance online, click on the WAC, and it'll take them right to it, rather than referring back to the handbook because it may be hard to find. I don't know. But it maybe, I don't know. But that's my 2 cents. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Tom, would you like to speak?
Sorry?
Go ahead.
I think that would be good to go back and look at some of the stuff and keep things in it, because we can still work on this. Little bits and pieces. The overall is, when you read online what people are saying about hotels, their conditions, walking into one, turning around, walking back out, and the people refuse to give them money back. Those things are hard to take when we're in a city that relies on people coming in to stay short-term or long-term. And that we need to do something to keep it going up, getting better than what it is right now in some of the places. Not all of them, but some of them.
I just want to mention one thing, that George is doing a great job trying to book this place, that we're all in here at the convention center, and we lost a long-time convention that used to come here into town, and the hotels were a problem, and they've canceled on him. So it is an issue bigger than maybe some people know here in town. So I just wanted to mention that.
Denise?
Rich, go ahead.
Well, so Lisa,
No, Rich. Yeah.
my eyes in the back of my head don't work as well.
As Lisa discussed, let's not confuse the word private homes with Airbnbs and VRBOs. So that's just ridiculous. We also obviously had a speaker at the podium here that obviously hasn't been into every hotel. I've been into virtually every hotel because I'm a customer. I have to place people in hotels, and I actually walk through them and look at them. And I look at the holes in the doors. I look at the mattresses. I don't know any of us in here that wants to stay in that particular place. None of us up here caused this problem. The problem is caused by out-of-town hotel owners that don't care. So you have a choice. You have 7-member board that you elected, and we have been beat up enough to where we have no choice but to enact some kind of a check and balance. I am all for some of the name brand hotels that already have policies in place where they get checked occasionally. Thank goodness. But the other ones don't. They get checked by customers that come in from out of town, stay in a horrific place with no shampoo, no hot water, leaky ceiling, and then report about it online. The council isn't advertising to the world that our hotels are bad. We are advertising to the world that we are going to try to have quality hotels. The customers that stay in these hotels are the ones advertising worldwide how poor they are. So there are some great hotels in this town, thank goodness. And that's where I make sure people stay. And the other ones, we are here now with not a perfect ordinance by any means, but we're working on it to try to save the rest of the hotels from themselves, apparently, because it's not working. And we are losing business, and we are losing business to other hotels on the peninsula because of the lack of caring from these out-of-town hotel owners. So we need to continue to work on this to get it right, to get rid of the duplicities. And yes, Airbnbs and VRBOs do count. Absolutely.
All right, Denise, and then we'll go back to Richard.
I agree. We do need to make the terminology consistent with the Washington Health Transient Accommodations Resource Book. And I think the link there is pretty clear if you go to that. My only concern, I do think we should get rid of, 8.30.010, because the reason we are adopting their handbook is to make sure that we don't have to keep editing this based on changes. Obviously, we do need some structural changes. I agree with all of the ones that Richard has proposed, though I agree with Lisa that we should keep severability, and we can take the clause in that previous section out. But I think Rich said it very well. I have not been to all of the hotels, but I have certainly had family members who have had poor experiences in hotels and will no longer stay in Ocean Shores, that I see this as us being responsive to our community, not dragging our community down.
All right, you're up, Richard.
So I'd like to just, a couple of comments. As far as dragging the city through the mud by this ordinance, I've stayed in hotels in several places in the United States, in several places in Europe, and never once, not in my entire life, have I ever gone to the city ordinance to see what the city ordinance says about that hotel. Never in my entire life have I ever done that. So I'm not sure how this ordinance, and I agree with what Rich said, this ordinance points out to those who are interested that we see a problem and are addressing that problem. Lisa, I appreciate what you said about perhaps leaving that list of WACs in, and they just reinforce, make it easier to click on the WAC and go to it, although the handbook is also easy to click on. But in the handbook, I don't think it's indexed to the website. And so taking the WACs out, if the handbook changes, the WAC has to change underneath it also, because that's just the way the government works. I appreciate what Denise said. And I don't know how many more of these 5 changes that I outlined in red that the council wants to address. I'm happy with them the way they are. But I want to bring up one more. We all received a letter from Mr. Kim, who owns the Comfort Inn, about how he would prefer the Comfort Inn and those hotels like that. And hotels is a generic word. It means transient accommodation. And I think that the ordinance clearly states that. But anyway, Mr. Kim would like to see that change in regards to nationwide hotels. But I think that if we made that change, if we did not require those hotels to comply, that we're giving away our power to an entity that we have no idea who they are and what their standards are. And this ordinance clearly stipulates that the inspector, whoever the mayor appoints as the inspector, has that authority to look at the track record of that hotel and say, they're meeting the criteria. I don't need to spend an hour or 2 hours inspecting them. And that should be that inspector's call, whether he requires an inspection or not, based on the criteria that is in this ordinance and his assessment of the facility. Are there any other parts of these 5 changes that I suggested that that should be changed? The one that sticks in my mind the most is changing shall to may, so that we're not forced to write whatever the punitive action is tonight as we pass this, as we address this ordinance. So that's my comments. Thank you.
All right, Lisa Griebel.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think, Richard, you referenced this, but if someone could just make clear to me, when we put into an ordinance and we reference a resource book, so when the state updates the resource book, then this is automatically updated. We don't have to come back to the code to do that.
That's correct.
All right, I got one more hotel story. We've got an outfit that comes in here every year. They have for many years. And this coming year is the first year that they're still going to have their conference here, but they're staying at the casino because they were struggling to find decent accommodations here. And that, it was a large group. So anyway, another issue that we want to get solved. Anybody else got anything to say?
I have a question. Richard, were you looking for action tonight or to bring this back for a second reading with the proposed changes?
Well, the proposed changes, I think, there are enough of them. I think it would be clearer if we brought this ordinance back for a second reading so that we can all see what those changes incorporate. And then the question that, because I've heard discussions on both sides, whether or not we eliminate the list of ordinances, that's 8.30.010, to leave that in or eliminate it. I agree with Lisa. It's easier to click on the WAC because that WAC is hyperlinked to the state code, and you can read for yourself exactly what the WAC says. So I think that we need a council decision, leave it in or take it out.
I vote to leave it in.
All right. Everybody good with that?
But doesn't it need to be updated all the time?
No, because it's referenced by WAC, so if the WAC is updated, and the only way that you would need to, since it's referenced, is if they eliminated one of the WACs.
So we're referring to 8.30.010.
Yeah.
So I was confused, eliminate or not eliminate? You're asking me.
Yeah, I thought we were simplifying and eliminating that all. You're saying don't.
I'm
don't
thinking it
eliminate
needs to stay purely because if I'm going online and I'm looking at our city ordinance, it's easy to hit the WAC versus going through the reference book because the WAC will take me right to the section I want to read about. So if I want to know what it says about lighting, I just hit right on the WAC. And if the WACs ever change, that won't change because we only reference by the numbers. So the number stays the same. Typically, it's the definitions within the WAC or the that changes. So it's
so
just
you're confident that A through W will always be there. Just the things beneath them, the state will continue to update.
Yeah, the state updates its WACs as you go. If they eliminate one of these WACs, that's when you would come back and change it.
And how will we ever remember to do that? That's what I'm worried about.
Well, you normally get reference whenever they're eliminating a WAC.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have anything to say? We're going to move on to the next item then. Bring it back. Yeah, we'll bring it back to the next meeting. Okay. Yes, Richard?
I would address Nicole and through her, Sarah, that I can give you this list that I suggested changes. I'll email that to you tonight or tomorrow so that you have a clear record of thank you.
All right, thanks. So we'll move on to item 8 here, and this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending the Ocean Shores Municipal Code Title 15, Chapter 15.12, to modify accessibility to camping permits and displaying permits. And our chief was not able to be here tonight, so Scott drew the short straw.
That's a fair way to phrase it. In fact, I drew the short straw on all 4 of my items tonight. So bear with me. And I think I can answer all of your questions, but just in case I can't, there's a reason for that. So the first has to do with the first issue we're dealing with right now has to do with our online permitting portal. And the city, I believe about 9-10 months ago, somewhere right about there, went strictly to online permitting for all of our permits. Whether you're doing a building permit, whether you're doing a burn permit, and obviously now when you're doing a camping permit, you have up to 120 days to camp on your property if you own a camping lot. You can do this online, and you can do it one of multiple ways. You can use your telephone. It'll automatically track the dates for which you're doing, because it's now all automated. You can do it on your computer, or if you're completely without any kind of device that can do that, you can also walk into the police station and that you can do it there. And this mitigates, obviously, this is really helpful for citizens because they're no longer having to wait if they come in late on a Friday night and then find the police station closed. But it also means it's redundant for us to have the postings on people's private property that, yes, you have your camping permit, and this is kind of what this reduces, that says that to the general public because it's all available to the officers online immediately to our code enforcement. And so we're just updating this language so that it reflects this municipal code, and this ordinance reflects the current realities on the ground, that everything is now done online.
All right, thanks. We have any public comment? Randy?
Randy Peck, Ocean Shores. All fine and good doing it online. However, the eyes of the public noticing that there's a camper on a lot and it doesn't have the permit sitting in the little envelope holder out in the front, I don't know if it's you've gotten a permit, haven't gotten a permit, and many times there's people who pull into lots that they don't own. And all of a sudden there's a camper. And now you're assuming that code enforcement's going to be able to look at the 12 to 13,000 lots we have and ascertain whether or not that person has or doesn't have a permit. We can't even tell who has dog licenses. Okay? So this is absurd. We don't canvass even for dog licenses, which many other communities do. Okay? And they see a dog and they report it, the individuals, the citizens. So it's fine and dandy say it's online, but there's nothing there to help in the enforcement of it. And that's a key thing that citizens do. Thank you.
All right, we got any other comment? Public comment? We got one on the line. So Don Williams.
Okay, are we okay, Scott?
Yes.
Yep, we hear you.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to try to put this into the online portal, and but I do want to say that to me, applying for a camping permit for people that are on the road and everything is quite a bit different than sitting at a desk and applying for a regular city permit. I think Randy's point is very well taken, is that the neighbors will not be able to assess whether or not they should be asking about that permit. So I'm wondering if citizens will have access to all the active permits. That should be the case that would solve that. Be able to go online and look at the permits. But one of the things that the ordinance talks about here is that the mayor mayor has the ability to establish rules and regulations governing the issue of camping permits, and also to set up city-operated kiosks. And first, I'm wondering, is there a plan to have a kiosk for somebody to come in and, in effect, apply for a permit without they don't have access to the internet? And also, I wasn't aware that we have a permit fee for this. And is this ordinance now, because it mentions the permit fees, and I think it did before too, is there a plan to have permit fees for campers? I don't think that's probably a good idea. But I'm just concerned that this, Randy's question is a good question. It eliminates not having the permit there. Neighbors can't sort of do self-policing. And also, I think there's some difficulty if we don't have available some way for someone to go and walk up and apply for the application, pretty much similar to what was at the police station. And the permits at the police station, it wasn't just when they're open. Those permits were, you could take a permit out 24/7. They were outside the locked doors of the police station. You didn't have to have somebody there. So the old system worked pretty well. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to make this new system, in effect, satisfy all those same features of being able to get permits without having to be online, and also the problems of observing the neighbors. So thank you very much.
All right, that ends our public comment. Council, any comments? Yes, Lisa, Scott.
So I guess to Randy and Dawn, so if you're driving around and you're concerned with somebody camping on an individual lot, you can get online and look to see if they have a permit. It is available to anybody. You can search any permit that anybody, if you have a question about your neighbor or a question about something else, you can go online and see if they actually have a permit to do that. Most cities are shifting to that. It's getting cumbersome to be able to have somebody out, send out to post permits, check permits, and all of that. So a lot of people have gone to an online system where if you're concerned, anybody can get on and do that. Most people have a phone nowadays. Get on the phone, register for camping or to be on your lot with your phone. If not, call during the business hours. Somebody picking up the phone can help you walk through the permit process or enter it online or from online from the phone. Most people do have a phone. For those that don't, call in. City staff's always been really good to work with and very, welcoming to help. And in this instance, because there'll be some growing pains, I assume that will happen as well.
And I can also address very briefly the matter of the kiosk that Don was referring to. We actually do have, we call them kiosks. That's what they're called. There's one in the police station, one inside the fire station. You walk in, there's a computer, and we have a staff member of the police station and a staff member of the fire station for the burn ban and building as well. Yes, obviously that's. But those two kiosks, they're available, and it's for those people who just they don't have a phone, they don't have a computer, or they simply just it's too overwhelming for them to have to register, and they're just not used to technology. You can walk in, and they'll walk you through that whole process. So,
all right, yeah, Rich.
Scott, this might not be a fair question since the chief's not here. A few months ago, we still had the old style, all the old things there. Are those all down now?
They are all down.
Okay. Registering online, I'm not exactly unsavvy when it comes to tech, but I'm not at your guys' level. It wasn't intuitive to try and find a way to get a camping permit. If we could just try to make it a little more intuitive for out-of-towners and campers that aren't used to our, not Ocean Shores is a little different. Most people don't live on the Ocean Shores webpage. And so when you go to it, you're stumbling around trying to figure out where do I go? Oh, let's go to permits. Okay, let's go to permits. You're still stumbling. So if there's anything we do to make it a little bit more intuitive.
That's fair, and I did create a sheet that walked people through the whole process, and I tried to make it as simple as possible. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this, because you have to create an account before you can do it. And I know we posted those outside the fire station and outside the police station, and I gave it to the individuals, but maybe it needs to be added somewhere on the website. That could be a good idea. We could have a section that simply says, looking for a camping permit, here's what you do, here's how you do it, and put that online. I don't know if it is. I wish Sarah were here to tell me if that's on the website at all. But maybe we need to put it in a more obvious place. Even
put it on a link on the front page. I think because
that makes sense.
There's a lot of people that use their lots for that. So even a link on the front page.
We could have something that just says campers. Correct. Yeah.
Yes, Nicole.
Your sheet is currently not on the website, but
not.
if you send it to me, I will put it on there.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. I did give it to the police department, and I gave it to Courtney Beebe, who and I can forward that to you as well.
All right, thanks. Richard, did you have something?
Lisa covered it eloquently. Thank you, Lisa.
All right. We got, yes, Lisa Griebel.
Thank you, Mayor. So maybe like some others, I've had to use the permitting because I have people come and stay on my property. So I have to get a permit when someone brings their trailer and stays like in my driveway for the maximum, I think it's 30 days. And I haven't done it since we went to online. And I heard Scott say you can do it on your phone. But when you say on your phone, is that on like using the internet on my phone, or is that actual just using my like phone number? Like,
Oh, it'd be internet. You have to go to the web browser. You have to get it on through a web browser.
okay.
I mean, yeah, it's either data or wire or internet, but yeah.
Maybe I'll have my friends come stay at your house.
You would need a smartphone though.
All right. Any other comments? Do we want to bring this back as the first reading, or you guys want council action?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, amending Ocean Shores Municipal Code Title 15, Chapter 1512 to modify accessibility to camping permits and displaying permits.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, item number 9, a request of the City Council of the City Ocean Shores, Washington to approve the use of 3/10 money to purchase an unmanned remote control rescue buoy from Blue Skies Drones. And that's going to be presented by Scott again.
All right. Just for the public's knowledge, because I always like to do this when people start throwing around with 3/10 money. I'm sure that everyone on the council knows, but in Grays Harbor County, 0.3% of local sales and use tax as of January 1st, 2017, was allocated to fund criminal justice and public safety initiatives, and that's where this money is coming from. It comes from retail sales and services at the county. And so what the chief of police is requesting, and our police and fire departments are both doing this, because you'll see Michael Mandela's name as well throughout in this document, is the use of the remote control. And I did not get to see this because I was at a city administrators meeting, but I haven't seen the video. The unmanned remote control rescue buoys from Blue Skies Drones. And before the city clerk shows you the clip of what that is and how that operates, there's another reason we need to do this. We cannot have a surf rescue program. WCIA which is our insurance authority, does not want to take those kinds of risks. Other cities have had surf rescue, but they've repeatedly told us, please, we could lose our insurance if we do that. These are always multi-million-dollar claims. If someone gets killed out there or drowns, we've had a tragedy in the past in Ocean Shore regarding that very incident and that very type of activity. So this is an automated system that will allow us to rescue people and potentially save lives with this, that would not put any of our first responders in danger. And just go ahead and show them how it works, Nicole. Or whoever's back there working the mic.
This thing was super easy. I was there for this demonstration, and it's super easy to steer. It's easier than a remote control car, to be honest with you. And if it flips over, you reverse it and it rights itself back up. You can put a 450-pound person on that and it can rescue them. So it can do quite a job.
Yeah, and that's a technology that we've had it that it existed for that would worked in the lakes, but these new ones. This new kind of model works in the ocean as well, and that's something we just did not have that technology before.
Ready for public comment? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, public comment. Randy. And then Kurt, you can be here next.
Randy Peck, Ocean Shores. Just to correct you, we've had this technology. In fact, I gave it to the city 9 years ago. It was called USAFE by a company called Norris out of Portugal. Portuguese waves are gigantic. Their coast is on the Atlantic is just like ours. In fact, Nikki in 2003 was all set to go to Las Vegas, where the USAFE unit was the Innovation Award winner at the CES in Las Vegas. So, Consumer Electronics Show. So, it has existed, and repeatedly Well, they were supposed to come up to Westport and actually do a demonstration for Westport back in 2003, but the management and marketing people had an issue that they had to get to and couldn't come up. So I'm glad that we finally got this, but the USAFE was the same exact thing from Portugal 9 years ago. And also, by the way, the Volvo sailing race around the world used this, the USAFE one, on all of their ships, or all the sailboats going around the world. So it has existed, and they actually, in 2016, is when they originally introduced it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Kurt Dooley, Ocean Shores. Most of the questions that I had were already answered by Scott. Just a couple more. Is the price they quoted a firm price, or are they going to tack on tariffs since it comes from China? The manufacturer says it's designed for ocean rescues and durable enough for harsh marine environments, but has that been independently verified? I can't find that it has been, or even reviews of it. The live demonstration that they did for you, that was a good thing. I was pleased to see that. But in an ocean environment, does it operate differently with a person hanging onto it? Are there any ocean beach jurisdictions, resorts, et cetera, already using these around here? And then finally, where will it be stored? Will it get to somebody in time? So that's all the questions I had. Thanks.
Any other public comment? All right, council. Oh, is there one online? Yep.
Do we have Don online?
Go ahead, Don.
Okay, are we all set?
Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of my questions have been answered. I'd like to hear a little bit about how these are going to be deployed. I understand we're buying 2 of them. And I guess they're not going to be in vehicles. They're going to be stationary someplace. And will they be accessible when, for example, when all the fire people are out on call? Will somebody be able to go and get access to it?
Don, you're moving around. You're cutting your mic out. It's hard to hear.
Okay, all right. Is this any better? Are we okay?
Yes.
Okay. Anyhow, I'd like to hear about deployment. The other problem is my experience with drones, and I don't have any this size, but the batteries on these drones are designed to self-discharge for safety, and at least those are the ones that I've seen. And I'm wondering, do we have extra chargers, and how will keeping the batteries charged be able to do this? And also the question of access when, for example, everybody's out on the road and the ambulances are doing other fire-related activities. Thank you very much.
Any other comments online? All right, council, any comments or questions? Yes, Lisa?
So I was excited to hear about this. I wasn't here in 2003, but we discussed this at Public Safety, as well as I think Assistant Chief Mandela mentioned it to us. I think it's one of those things, especially for ocean rescues, that we haven't had the ability to do. I feel confident that our crews can handle this, and I'm excited, and I think this is an amazing opportunity that we haven't had, and I'm definitely in favor of it.
Any other? Yes, Richard?
So I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate, and a couple of speakers have already addressed. And my concern is if it's in storage, by the time that it gets to the beach to rescue somebody, do they still need rescuing or they need recovery? And I would like to see us have one in all of the fire trucks and one in all of the police vehicles if there's room for them. But that would be pretty spendy. So, yeah, they're like, yeah, it's big.
Did you want to talk?
Do you want to mention where they're going to be?
I believe one's going to be at the North Fire Station, one's at the South Fire Station. So is that?
And our first responders
police?
Go out and rescue now.
Police, sorry. One's at the police station, one's at the South Fire Station.
and yes, we have had several first responders that have rescued potential drowning victims, but people can drown in as little as 60 seconds. And one of the things that I would like to see to go along with this, and I don't know how we would do it, maybe an information bulletin. I think that everybody who plays in the surf, whether they're 2 years old or 22 or 222 years old, should all be wearing a life jacket. Undertow can suck you out to sea at a moment's notice in as little as 2 feet of water, and your feet are swept out from underneath you, and you panic. And what causes most people to drown, I would venture to say, is not their ability to swim or not swim. It's that panic sets in when they can't breathe, and now they're flopping around out there, and where they could have just stood up and walked ashore, they panic and they drown in 2 feet of water. So I think that this is great technology. I think the city should buy them, but I wonder how to address the concern of getting them to the beach in time. And I'm just pondering, as a council member in the past used to say.
All right, Lisa Griebel?
Thank you, Mayor. And I guess my question would be, the price that's quoted, does that include everything? I think one of the public commenters asked about if there were going to be any additional taxes or fees. And then they did reference in their letter that they do training as well. So is that part of this total fee package, that they'll provide training for our staff as well?
I can speak, I believe, to the first one, and only because I overheard it in kind of comment between the Mandela and Ritter and myself. So I believe that these are already in stock, and that's one of the reasons we're moving quickly, so we would avoid the whole tariffs issue if we purchased now, because they're already in the country, and that's one of the reasons that we're moving quickly on this. Whether that includes the training or not, that I did not overhear or not. I thought it may, or maybe you'd. I think it does too, but I didn't want to say it per se. I've heard it mentioned, but
Yeah, they talked about training. Yes, Denise?
I just wanted to add that there is another video from the company online that is worth looking at, besides the one that we saw where it shows it during an actual rescue.
All right, anybody else? Rich?
Scott, our Safety Committee, can I be rest assured that the professionals that looked into this know how the batteries work? And
Absolutely. I think Assistant Chief Mandela actually spoke to that and talked about the battery life when he did his presentation. Probably not everybody was here or privy. You can go back and look, but he did speak to that and is very comfortable and confident. And you're right, someone can drown quicker, but it's another tool in our tool shed that we don't have that is going to be that much better. I'd rather be safe
now
than
we're doing
sorry.
nothing.
Because exactly.
right, and that's to Rich's point. It's exactly that. Right now, we can't do anything but really sit there and watch if we have to go out past our knees. And regardless, an officer still has to get on the scene if someone is drowning. So that element is still there. It hasn't changed. It's just this time the officer will actually have a tool that will help potentially rescue someone and save their life, whereas before they wouldn't be able to do that.
All right, yeah, Tom?
The video shows that it gets out there pretty quick. And my question is, since you don't see anybody trying to grab onto it and stuff like that, depending on the anguish your victim may be having drowning, how easy will it be for them to grab it or to get a hold of it? Because you're sending out how far it goes, and you still have to worry about that victim being able to grab it because you don't know, nobody else is attached to it. So it's a great tool, but that's my question there. You're still losing life because of it, is it going to be effective enough?
Go ahead, Richard.
To address Tom's issue, I was a trained lifeguard in a previous life, and in that lifeguard training, somebody who's drowning will glom onto anything that is higher above the water than they are. So they will glom onto this thing. They will grab it and be glad that it floats. So I don't think that that's going to be a concern. And as far as my other issue about getting it to the beach, I do support buying this thing. I just said, is there any way that we can make the public more aware of just how important wearing a life jacket is when you're playing in the surf to supplement and maybe prevent needing to deploy this tool. But I do agree that we need to buy this tool.
All right, anybody else? Yes, Allison?
So I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve the use of 3/10 funding to purchase unmanned remote control rescue buoys from Blue Skies Drones.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, item 10, next up, a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to award the Convention Center electric sign contract to Security Signs, and that's going to be presented by Becky Leach.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. The Convention Center was awarded LTAC funds for the new electronic reader sign. The current sign has rusted supports and posts and could become a safety hazard sooner than later. I did attach photos in the agenda bill. The city received 7 bids, which was awesome, but 6 of them were not viable bids due to different reasons, like being turned in after the deadline, not being on our roster at time of bidding, which is a requirement. One of the proposals wasn't signed. For getting that many in, it was really it was just wacky how many issues we had with them. So the acceptable bid was Security Signs. And we also looked at ordering the sign separate from a state contract and then just bidding out the installation. But it wasn't time effective or cost saving because we'd already done the bids, and so we'd already done that work. The project will be funded from LTAC funds, this agenda bill says that a budget modification would be needed, but I spoke to Sarah today and I was incorrect, and a budget modification is not needed. So the city is seeking council approval to award the Convention Center sign project to Security Signs for a total project cost of $90,443.90.
All right, do we have any public comment on that? Seeing none, how about council? Yes, Rich?
Becky, help me with this. I've had these, well, not this exact sign, but I've had electronic signs. 2 biggest important things to me were trying to get the service people to fix it because they all break. It seems a lot, right? Just part of the deal. And the ability to have an extended warranty because of the obvious issues. What have you learned there?
I haven't asked about an extended warranty, but there will be a warranty and they will come out and replace it. I'm sure we could purchase an extended warranty. They usually cost money, but I can look into that, yeah.
They're coming from where to service it? Any ideas?
They're in Portland.
They're only Portland based?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, anybody else? Yes, Richard.
I stood under, or almost under, that sign yesterday. I wanted to see what we were buying and why we were buying it. When I got close to it, I did not stand under it because I was afraid. So, yeah, I think we need this.
All right, anybody else? Yes, Lisa?
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion, a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores to award the design and installation of a new electronic sign for the Ocean Shores Convention Center.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any other comment? Oh, we got a guy on.
Oh, we forgot comment.
We forgot Dawn.
You went right to us. No, we didn't. We skipped public comment.
Oh, he asked.
We
No,
asked.
we did. We asked.
I asked for public comment. So,
Oh,
hey, Don.
yeah. Can I go ahead now? I submitted a request for this one.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is probably the thing to do. The only problem is that the bars code that is given here on page 43, that's the bars code for the projects awarded by the LTAC. In other words, where people submitted applications and they were awarded. That money is not to be used for capital expenses or operating for the convention center. So LTAC, LTAC never awarded as one of the, I think there was 13 projects awarded for a total of $760,000. Rich can talk about that. This sign was not one of those projects. This has to come out of the the allocation that the convention center took for capital and operations outside of that $760,000 awarded. The other problem is this particular bars code is only budgeted for $700,000, yet the LTAC approved the 13 projects at 760. It's already overspent. So my question is, what fund is this coming out of? Because incorrectly, the LTAC did not award this as one of these submitted separate projects. It has to come out of something else besides that particular bars code. That's only for the 13 projects awarded, and they've already been spending money out of that already. They've already spent most of it, but it's already over budget by a lot from what the LTAC approved. And my question is, where's the money coming from then? That's it.
All right, thanks, Don. Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
This was something LTAC approved, correct? I'm pretty sure. And then second, it is advertising. So it is an electronic reader board, so it is covered under LTAC for that purpose. But I believe this was approved as part of the convention center's request.
All right, go ahead, Rich.
Do we need to postpone until we get more info?
I don't know what.
I can't recall. I can't give you. I don't remember all the things that we did and which accounts came from and such. Apologies.
Well, you guys had a.
There's a motion and a second on
Yeah.
the floor, so call for the vote.
Yeah, let's call for all in favor.
Aye.
All right, let's do a roll call.
Councilmember Cyrus.
Yes.
Councilmember Cyrus is a yes. Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor is a yes. Councilmember Grebo.
Yes.
Councilmember Grebo is a yes. Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein is a yes. Councilmember Scott.
Yes.
Councilmember Scott is a yes. Councilmember Wills.
Yes.
Councilmember Wills is a yes. Councilmember Hartman.
No.
Councilmember Hartman is a no. Motion passes 6 yeses, 1 no.
All right.
Thank you.
We are on to another one for Scott here. Request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve the purchase of the John Deere 620G motor grader from Pape Machinery Incorporated under the Sourcewell contract number 011723-JDC. This is presented by Scott Anderson.
All right, so both this item and the next item were items that were approved by council, but when we received the bids back, they were over the estimated budget amount. So that's the reason we're bringing it back. The costs just simply came in higher than what we budgeted originally. This one, and I think the next one actually with taxes, they're each about $30,000 over. This is something we absolutely need. Our old grader was purchased on surplus. It was somewhere in either the mid 70s or the very early 80s. Like a lot of our older equipment, we have the problem of there's simply no parts available for it. The grader is used to clean our beach approaches. It also does the gravel parking lots for our parks. And increasingly, because we still have our moratorium on spraying for city roads, it will be used for a lot of shoulder work on our roads. So it is something that our street departments had on their list. It was brought to council and was approved. And I just wanted to use that. We use sole source contracts, and I have two other bids for this. One for the exact same model if we didn't use the sole source contract, and that at the list price came out to $475,000, and with the options added on, that was another $50,000. So it would have been a $525,000 purchase. A similar model from 2023 from CAT would have been about $582,000. So that's what the general consensus range is. They're around anywhere between $520,000 and $580,000. By using Sourcewell, we have our expenditure amount down to $379,000. Let's just call it with that number round up $380,000. So it is a significant savings. And I guess with that, we can turn it over to public comment.
Do we have any public comment?
And was Don on that one?
Yeah.
No, he's on the next one, I believe.
Yeah, he's on 12. Council, I don't see any public comment. Council? Yeah, Rich?
Is this something that's in stock, or is this going to be a custom order? Do you know?
I hate to say I think it is in stock because I think he called them and they said they could, according to Alex, I think he said he called them and they could bring it relatively soon. So I do believe it's in stock. But I will immediately let you know if it's not.
I was just assuming that you two gentlemen wouldn't necessarily approve a stereo with Bluetooth, so I thought maybe it was something just sitting there ready to go.
This model does not have power steering, I can tell you that. All right, any other questions or comments? No? Do we want council action? Yeah, Richard?
I make sure I'm on. Oops. I would make a motion that to approve the request for the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve the purchase of a John Deere 620G motor grader from Pape Machinery, Inc. under the Sourcewell contract number 011723-JDC.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? All right, thank you. All right, the next one up here is a request of City Council, City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve the purchase of a classic trailer Jetstream cleaner from SWS Equipment, LLC, under the Sourcewell contract number 101221-SCA, and that's presented by Scott Anderson.
All right, the last of my short straws for the evening. Exact same issue, amount budgeted was $80,000. Council had approved it. Turns out by the time we put it back out and get the bids out, with tax, it comes in at $112,000. So again, it's about that $32,000 over. This is entirely going to be used for our storm drain and not our sewer department. So it's really going to be the street department that's going to be using it. When you look up models for this, they're all over. You can run the gamut from extremely small models that cost $16,000 to ones that cost significantly more than this. But the key for our street department is it has to be a 40-gallon per minute pump, because that's the only thing they say at that capacity, at that pressure, that can clean out our large culverts. And the pump simply has to be big enough to move those culverts and have a motor that size to do it. So if you do look online, that's exactly what this thing is forced to do. It's a high-pressure pump. It forces water through the hose when things get clogged in our culverts and we can't dislodge them. This has the water pressure to dislodge that. It's something that our storm drain department has long needed, and there's money for it in the fund. In fact, as I said, you've already approved it. I have a basic write-up on it, but I'll just turn it over to public comment. And I know we do have one online, so if there's any public comment in the room first.
Do you have any public comment out there? Not seeing any. Don Williams.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm okay. My only comment was this is being budgeted. The bars code was for the storm drain. I thought this was for the sewer people, Ron. But you've answered my question, Scott. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Don.
So, council, yes, Richard?
So, with the mayor's permission, I talked to the guy who's actually going to operate this piece of equipment, and it is ideal for forcing the completely clogged culverts. And kind of the way it works, which I thought was interesting, is the water jets not only squirt forward, they squirt out to the side and they squirt backwards. So you push it down through there and then you drag it back and it pulls all of that debris out. I had originally said, well, how about pulling a tire through, as was old technology? That wrecks the drain. So no, that's a non-starter. It would cost a whole lot more than this machine costs. So I'm all in favor of this machine.
Yeah, that method is before power steering. So, anyway, council, any other questions or comments? No?
I make a motion that we approve the request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve the purchase of a classic trailer jet sewer cleaner from SWS Equipment, LLC, under the Sourcewell contract number 101221 SCA.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Lucky 13's up next. That's presented by me. A request for the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve a Public Works Director position. And I can say our city is growing and we are super busy with upcoming projects. We got the clinic, fire break, sidewalks, the South Fire Station, and we got our erosion issue that we deal with. The administration doesn't have time for oversight, scheduling, coordination of the work in Public Works. So a Public Works Director would bring efficiency to our department. We don't need an engineer, but we do need coordinated supervision at the Public Works Department. So that's why I'm making this request. Do we have any public comment? All right. Don Williams, you're up to bat.
Okay. I think the mayor, you can hear me, right, Scott?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. I think the mayor can make an excellent case for doing this. The only problem that it gets created was that the according to what was as explained in the agenda bill, when the mayor's salary was increased to $65,000 with the previous administration, it was with the stipulation that that if a public works director is hired, then that mayor's salary drops to $12,000, where it was before, and that can only take place at the next election. So it doesn't affect the current mayor, but it would affect the next mayor. And my problem that I see is I don't think that the city situation that we have right now, that if you offer a $12,000 salary for the next mayor, which would be after the next election, I don't think you're going to get very many people who want to take that office and do all the things that we're doing right now with especially with the activities being led by the current mayor, which I think is doing a pretty good job personally. So there's a problem. If you want to pass this, I think you have to consider removing the obstacle of the mayor's salary automatically dropping back to $12,000. As I said, I don't believe they'll be able to recruit anybody. Would anybody on the council want to be the mayor of the city for $12,000? I certainly would not be. I would not do the job at that rate. So those are my comments. I'm in favor of if that's the case, but I think you have to also, in parallel, address the issue of the mayor's salary, which reverts back to $12,000 at the next election. Thank you.
All right, council, any comments or questions? I don't know who was first.
Oh.
Ladies first.
Oh, thanks. So, Dawn brings up a valid point on the mayor's salary, and I don't think we can make that decision as well before we can say, we vote to not put it back to 12. I think that there were some concerns, and right now it would revert back, but again, we can't bind council to the next council's decision. So I think when it comes time to make that decision, we'll do it at that point. But I agree with Dawn 100%. It's I think you've learned that that's more than a full-time job.
It's a busy job.
It's a busy job.
Rich, did you want to go? And then Richard.
Well, I guess I'd like to ask Mr. Williams if he knows what a council person gets paid. Yet we never seem to have a problem with anyone wanting to run for council. We've never been a town without a mayor. So I would say not many people do this for the money. Now, when it comes to the situation we're in now, the current mayor is earning every penny. But I'm not going to sit here and say, no offense in the future, if anybody sees this recording 2 years from now, I'm not going to say that our next mayor deserves $65,000 a year. It might be a true part-time mayor with a true city run with administration the way it's set up to be, and it's not necessary to pay somebody for a full-time mayor's job. So I say we move forward like we all intended, and good news is in January 2 years from now, or whatever it is, if we all feel that we need to, the current council in place can make a suggestion that they change salaries for everyone, including the mayor. So I say we let it do what we'd already decided.
Yeah, and I want to say that salary aside, this is really an important thing for the function of the city and efficiency and such. So that was more what I'm worried about. I want us to be running well in that Public Works Department, and it's needed after being here over a year. It's needed to bring in that person. So that's why I brought this up. Yes, Richard.
I'd like to ask you, Lisa Scott, if you know off the top of your head, what does the Aberdeen mayor make? What's kind of the running salary for mayors? And I assume 12,000, which is what the ordinance says, the WAC or the ordinance, whichever it is. But on the other hand, I also agree that the city is running better now than it has run in my previous two mayors' experiences. So I'm in favor of this, but I'm also wondering if we pass this ordinance and we go to sleep and don't remember to bring up salary as we get close to the election, it'll slip under the table. So do we want to keep the salary tied to this ordinance? And I'm asking the question of the rest of the council members. Can the city clerk make some kind of a note that flags us to readdress this in a timely manner? I'm asking those questions.
Well, that would be a separate ordinance. It wouldn't be tied to this.
I can answer the first one. I have no clue on pay. Heck, I don't even know what I make. I'm sure somebody could probably tell me, but I have no clue, but I'm assuming it's in the range.
The ordinance says 12,000 a year unless the city council makes an ordinance for something else. And I think that the amount of work that is going into city administration now is worth a whole lot more than 12,000 a year. Would the next mayor be a full-time mayor, or do we need to make that a stipulation when we start the election process for the next mayor? And those are all just questions that, even though that changes this ordinance, we can amend this ordinance before we vote on it. And so what are other council members' thoughts on that?
I can help field some of those questions, just because as a city administrator, we have city administrator meetings on a quarterly basis, and we sit and discuss what we're working on. And the Ocean Shores mayor is the highest paid mayor in the harbor, and deservedly so. And in particular with Frank, and I say that because honestly, we're both in the office every day at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we work together in tandem until the close of business, and every single day. And it's an invaluable relationship because we really complement each other's strengths. And Frank is truly, truly a full-time mayor. There's not days off or things like that. We are unique from other cities in the harbor, though. We have to address all of our issues ourselves. We're rapidly growing. We are not heavy on some of the senior staff positions. We have a lot of very, very young, new people that are in charge that have not been in charge before. We are not a situation where it's really a top-heavy administration. And we've got 6 different departments that are down at Public Works, between our mechanic, our control system specialist, water, sewer, stormwater, storm drain, all of it. And they don't have that day-to-day oversight that's really needed to tie those departments together, from everything that they do, from their workload to their purchasing to how they interact and cooperate. And so I can't be doing it. The mayor can't do it. Becky's got a list of projects that is extremely long. I think it runs almost like to 20 now. We have an extremely ambitious agenda and trying to get sidewalks in, to try to get a fire break in, and trying to get a clinic in, just things that Ocean Shores residents have been calling for decades, and we're trying to do it in 4 years. So I think people ask me, like, hey, have you ever considered running for mayor of Ocean Shores? And I'm like, absolutely not. This is an extremely difficult job to do. It's not just administering a city. You have to be a political leader in the city, and I think we're fortunate for what we have. Whether or not in 5-10 years, or the next mayor or so decides to be a part-time mayor, that's when you might want to look at that issue. But for right now, what we have is definitely working.
Yes, go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple questions. How long has it been since we had a public works director? I think we've also tried to hire at least twice since then. What do we think is different now in how we've posted it, or the timing that you think that if we haven't been able to find one for quite a while, what's different now that you think we'll be able to find a qualified candidate?
It's a great question. It's been 2.5 years, or maybe even longer since Nick Bird left, maybe even close to 3. Robert Lund was then our acting public works director. And then he left to go to the state, kind of for his dream job. And he actually never left the city of Ocean Shore, so he's still here. We did recruit. It was not as successful as we would have liked. Whether we're going to find the exact candidate that we are looking for, I cannot guarantee that at this point. I don't think anyone can. But until we put it out there and do a comprehensive search, we're not going to know that. That's no different than any of our senior positions. One of the hard things about hiring here within Ocean Shores is that our best applicants the ones that really will come here and stay, tend to be from Western Washington. Every time we've tried to do recruiting from outside the state, people have gotten cold feet at the last minute. They're out at the end of the world. We're out here in Ocean Shores. I've been working in Arkansas. We've had people from Missouri, and they've just kind of sort of changed their mind. So I'm not saying it's going to be really easy to find. We have been very aggressive in trying to find an assistant police chief, and we have finally gotten 6 applications because we know that Chief Logan is leaving, retiring next year. And so we use some heavy-hitting recruiters to bring someone in that could get them up to speed, and that would be our plan, but there's obviously no guarantees, but hoping we would get the right candidate.
I don't know. Go ahead, Rich, and then Richard.
Just to be clear, I like choices. The way this is presented now gives us choices. It follows up on the previous council's decisions and doesn't affect our current mayor whatsoever. But what it does, if we do more what Mr. Will said, we guarantee that the next mayor, whether it's Frank or some other one, and I can just say there's been somebody that's run for mayor a couple times that hasn't been successful that wouldn't deserve a $65,000 a year salary. I'm not sure that they deserve 12. So by doing this, the way Richard is saying, we are assuring that no matter what type of candidate gets to be mayor, they will be getting this higher salary. I like the fact that you can take this the way it was presented by staff, and then let's say Mr. Mayor wants to run again. Good news, choices. The council that's present in 2 years gets to then make a decision if the salary should be bumped back up. But the salary would be bumped back up because of being a full-time mayor and being effective, rather than some part-time person that doesn't have the skills and isn't doing the same things. Anyway, it gives council choices. And that's why I'd like to keep it the way staff presented it.
Okay, Richard, you're next.
So this is a fuzzy thought that I may not frame very well, but it's my perception that in the past, we, the city, have hired and maybe have not done due diligence, for example, on background checks and previous job performance. And I don't even know, can we do that as we're looking for new employees? What I would really like to see on this public works director, that we really do deep due diligence and hire the best possible and not settle. If we settle, we're going to get the short end. And I hear what Councilmember Hartman is saying. I'm just afraid of what has happened in the past so many times, that the water flows under the bridge and this sailed by before we remembered to address it. So it just seems prudent to take the salary out of this ordinance. But if the rest of the council members feel otherwise, that's just my concern. I hope I'm framing this so that it is understandable.
Yeah, Richard, I was on the interview committee for the last public works director, and that guy had a super solid resume, but he was coming from Kansas. And so at the last Well, we thought he was starting, not we, but the city did. I wasn't there, but they thought he was going to start, and he didn't show up that day, and found out that he got cold feet, and he didn't decide to come to work. Now, background checks, all that, we do all that stuff. That stuff's all done. So I think, like what Scott's saying, we need to find somebody from Western Washington that'd be more comfortable here, working here. Now, me personally, I'd like this passed as it's written. The thing about the salary was just a reminder, it's not part of the ordinance. So it was put in there by staff.
So the guy that almost got hired, he looked in his garage and found out he didn't have a life jacket. I'm asking.
Maybe it was rain gear, I don't know which.
Okay.
Yeah, Nicole?
Yeah, I just wanted to clear it up that you guys are not changing code or an ordinance. You're just approving whether or not you agree to a finance director or a public works director. My bad.
That's
Sorry, sir.
correct. Thank you. Lisa Griebel?
Thank you. The current trend seems to be to actually just across the state and across our nation is actually reducing the size of government and reducing staffing and positions. So as a resident of Ocean Shores, this is a pretty substantial cost to our budget and an ongoing cost. So I guess I would just like to hear, as a resident, how will this cost and continued cost and hit to our budget, how is that going to benefit me as a resident and all of our residents here?
Well, I can take the first part, and why there is definitely an emphasis on cutting costs. Our city has grown by 2,000 residents, almost 2,300 since I've been here. We've added 1/3 to the size of our city in 6 years I've been the city administrator, and that's not going to go down. We anticipate that we will probably pass Hoquiam in the next census and be the second largest city in the harbor. Yeah, we're only 1,000 off now, and we're growing. And right now, I believe we have something like 135 permits. The mayor may have the exact number. 250 in the hopper for single family homes. So there's no slowdown here in Ocean Shores. And with the number of projects that we're doing, that adds to that. And the fact is that we just can't have a lot of the shared agreements that like Hoquiam, Cosmopolis, and Aberdeen have, where they can kind of come to each other's aid, lend each other. We are really out here by ourselves. We are the North Beach. We have, in addition to just our general infrastructure, which was pre-planned, and it was planned out to build this. But you've seen our street plan, our street master plan. We know what that's going to cost. There's just, we've got our fresh waterways issues other cities don't have. Even just general mowing. Ocean Shores is 12.4 square miles. We have 176 miles of road. We have to mow, just Ocean Shores Boulevard is probably more than Aberdeen, Hoquiam, and Cosmopolis have to mow just by themselves. And we haven't even begun hiring for a fresh waterways department that we know we're going to have to move to in order to get our canals and our lakes cleaned up. So other cities may be having that. Our problem is we are not losing population. We're growing in population, and we anticipate that trend to continue, and we just have to be prepared for that.
All right, Lisa, Scott?
So, Lisa, to answer your question too, is Public Works is one of those areas that is not really seeing a lot of cutbacks, because you got to think, and when you form cities, your public safety and your public works are how cities are founded, right? Public safety, police, fire, and then public works, your water, your sewer. They are really important. And I don't know, I can attest to the city of Hoquiam. They don't have a public works director. Their city administrator does it. However, the city administrator was hired in public works and has a public works background. So they've been lucky and fortunate to be able to grasp that. We don't have that. And as Scott mentioned, there are a lot of newbies. And when you have that, you don't have anybody for them to learn from. So, having that expertise and guidance from someone that does that for a living on a daily basis is really only going to benefit the city tremendously. And Richard, maybe it's just the way you phrased that, but we don't settle. I don't know that we've ever settled for an employee. And, things don't work out, yes, but when you go in, if if any of your candidates aren't viable candidates, you don't fill the position. And I've, at least every interview panel that I've been on, we don't settle. You pick the best candidate. And if the candidates that you interview don't work, you don't hire them.
All right, Richard?
So, thank you, and that's informative. I'd like to say that this whole discussion has been informative and convincing, and I see that Denise has her hand up, so I'll shut up.
All right, thank you, Richard. Denise?
Thank you, Richard. I did read the job description in detail in a former life. I wrote and reviewed a lot of them. It seems to me when we look at the many different departments or areas within Public Works, the thing that's really missing is that day-to-day supervision and coordination. You know, there's a difference between a high-level manager like Scott, who has more than enough to do handling Public Works, but what you really need is someone hands-on on the job every day to coordinate and supervise. And I think when we look at the number of projects, everything that's happening in the city, it's an area in which we are really lacking and that we need more direction.
All right, yes, Richard?
As I stated just a moment ago, all of this discussion has been informative and convincing. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion that the City Council approve the request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, to approve a Public Works Director position.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We have no discussion tonight, no executive session. We have agenda review. Yes.
So I'd like to, so a little context, the convention center has booked up solid and we don't have availability for council meeting on June 24th here at the convention center. So I'd like to actually make a motion to cancel the June 24th council meeting and agenda review to be held at our regular time, the first meeting in July. Yeah, you get a day off.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm not sure I understood the motion. Could you repeat it?
The motion was to cancel the June 24th city council meeting.
Can we afford to do that?
We don't have a room to do it in.
If we moved it to a different day? I'm asking.
It's pretty loaded up, according to George. You know.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Go ahead, Denise.
Richard, I just wanted to remind you that neither you nor I would be here. We're at the Kennewick Conference.
And I was going to ask for, yeah, I won't be here either.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Lisa Griebel.
So just to clarify, we know we don't have any urgent business that's going to need to be taken care of at the end of June, that we would need to have to look for another location. If convention center is not available, we have gone to other locations to have a meeting. So we already know we don't have anything. I heard Richard mention the sign ordinance would be ready. Some of the things we talked about, we're going to be ready for a second reading, but we don't have anything that has to be done or approved that it would be okay to not have a meeting.
I don't believe so. One of the problems with other venues, Lisa, is the internet strength or power that we need. And like the elementary school can't accommodate us. The Lions Club is tied up that day. And they don't have the best internet there either. So that's part of our issue when we're doing it live on TV and on the radio and all that. It takes a fair amount of internet strength. Internet signal? I don't know. Anyway, so that's what we were looking at. We kind of talked about that, having it somewhere else. Okay, Richard.
As Denise pointed out, 3 of the 7 council members, we barely have a quorum, and if anybody gets a cold, we won't. So I'm in support of. So thank you.
All right. So are we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So Nicole, just so what it'll be July what? The next council, do you know?
8th. July 8th will be the next one. We'll contact the agenda review committee and tell you what day we're going to do that in ahead of time. Yeah. So anyway, we got good of the order. We'll start at the other end. Rich.
I'm feeling better. I just wanted to thank the city for paying for the flowers and putting them up, but I also want to continue to thank Bennett's, Ron Lambert at Bennett's for continuing to water and fertilize the hanging plant baskets. They look great.
All right, Richard.
Thank you. So first, I want to thank and appreciate everybody who chimed in and provided their input on the hotel ordinance. Effective community progress is best accomplished by the idea that it takes a village. I also want to recognize and commend Sarah and the finance staff for all of the work being done to streamline and update our accounting system. Archiving unused accounts and standardizing use of VARS codes is going to help demystify our complex and arcane accounting procedures. So finance and Sarah and Shantae doing a fabulous job. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to the company that fixed the convention center erosion issue. As I looked at the outside from the ground, it looks pretty darn good.
Our soffit painting, yeah. Yeah. They've done a good job with that, and they got done earlier. So, yeah, Allison.
I would like to say thanks to the group that organizes our Saturday market. I got a chance to go on Saturday, and I mean, it was packed. It was wonderful. We had a great time. Bought a few things. Also, wearable art to Stage West and the volunteers and everyone, the artist did an amazing job. It was a sold out performance. Everybody had a great time. And I'm looking forward to next year already with it.
Awesome. Lisa Scott.
I wanted to thank you, Richard, for all of the work that you did when it comes to the hotel ordinance. I truly appreciate it. I know the amount of work and detail you did, so doesn't go unnoticed. Greatly appreciated. You're welcome. And again, thank you to the Sunday market people. That's been pretty amazing. Saturday market, sorry, Sunday's on my head. And I just wanted to actually thank all of you guys. I know sometimes it's not always fun to trudge out every time we have a meeting on Tuesdays. So thank you guys for coming out and bearing with us. I think we truly do have Ocean Shore's best interests at heart. We all just have different ways of how we accomplish that. So, but thank you guys very much.
And I want to say thank you to Ron Lambert with Bennett's, because that Saturday market property that they have that on, Ron has given the city permission to have the Saturday market on there, and couldn't ask for a better location, and thanks to Ron for allowing us to do that. Lisa Griebel.
Thank you, Mayor. I too participated in the wearable art show for the first time as a model in the wearable art show and not just sitting in the audience. And my mom reminded me about why I'm a principal and not a model. So thank you, Mom. But it was a great time. Stage West and our convention center staff did an amazing job. It was super fun. But did want to remind everyone about the Flag Day Parade on Saturday. So it'll be an awesome, amazing event here in our city, and encourage everyone to come out and support all the people participating in the parade. Bring your friends and family. There's always lots of candy, as well as all the patriotism and everything that takes place. So hope to see people at the Flag Day Parade.
All right, thanks. Tom.
I like to, with everything going on right now in this world, in our country, a lot of hatred, a lot of people being harmed. We need to, I think, pray for all these people that are involved on both sides, because it's not easy for anybody being told to go do what some of these people have to do, arrest people because they're ordered to, not because they want to, but because they're ordered to. And there's a lot of hate in this country, and we need to pray to bring it back, to accept each other, love each other, protect each other.
Right, thanks, Tom. Denise?
Well, several people have already mentioned the Saturday market, but again, thank you to the people putting it on. And the growth between the first year and the second year has really been phenomenal, and the professionalism of it. So thank you to all of the community engagement committee. Also, a thanks ahead of time to the surf riders and the Jeep people for planning our 4th of July. We know how important it is to city tourism and to city income, and the cleanup is just as important, as well as a thank you ahead of time. We know our police and our fire work tremendously, long hours on that weekend to take care of our city. So be safe.
All right, thank you. Can I get an adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you. We're adjourned.